From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live. I'm Erica Erickson in for Nick Monticelli. Good morning to everyone watching on Click on Detroit, Local 4 Plus, and streaming on YouTube. And good morning to those listening to us on the go. Thanks for listening on the app. All right, coming up in the next 2 hours, Michigan State Police taking a special interest in online sexual predators. We talk with MSP about the new program to draw attention to sextortion on social media. Then, trying to stop flooding in Detroit, how communities are looking to develop a solution to stop water from getting into their basements. And then we're heading to London, where President Trump is focusing on trade and the economy during his visit to the UK. All right, let's get to your news headlines, starting with a developing story. Police are investigating a shooting at a motorcycle club on Detroit's west side. This is new video from outside the building near Ewald Circle and Livernois. Our crew on the scene noticed at least 90 evidence markers on the ground. We're told one person was shot and is expected to survive. We'll let you know where this goes when we learn more. All right, now to Van Buren Township, where the community is gearing up to fight against plans to expand Wayne Disposal. Residents nearby previously stopped the company from bringing radioactive waste from the Manhattan Project to the landfill. Now Wayne Disposal wants to increase its hazardous waste storage and disposal capacity, including going into containers. There'll be another public informational meeting tonight and hearing. We're already hearing there will be a demonstration beforehand. The public meeting starts at 5 o'clock in Belleville. We're also learning more about the arrest of a man who police say has been tricking minors into sending explicit photos and videos to him. Brandon Sifani has been under investigation for months and was taken into custody Tuesday. There are concerns he was also portraying himself to others as a father seeking babysitting help. I spoke to the woman who had a disturbing encounter with the man the feds say was sexually exploiting young girls.
I thank God every day. My family thanks God every day. My parents tell me I had an angel on my shoulder that day.
Shelby Clark of Elmont says she knew he was creepy, but didn't know last month she had been encountering someone the feds say has been posing as a teen boy to sexually exploit young girls. 29-year-old Brandon Sifani arrested Tuesday, now facing federal charges, including child sexual exploitation, after Border Patrol agents investigating him for months, discovering photos and videos of underage girls on his phone at Detroit Metro Airport. The feds say Sifani had been posing as a teen boy named Brody online, even asking a 12-year-old girl to perform sexual acts involving objects, allegedly recording her, along with other girls, up their skirts without their knowledge. Fast forward to August. Clark, who does part-time childcare, says she discovered Sifani had been posing as a father on care.com, trying to get a babysitter. But she says when Sifani came to her home, he asked her about her relationship and to go upstairs.
He's like, so do you want to go hang out up there? And I'm like, no. So are you here for childcare, or what exactly are you here for?
What did he say?
Companionship.
Clark says she told Sifani to leave, but as she began closing the door,
He starts to tell me, thanks for letting me come over and hang out and pet your dogs.
what are you thinking?
I slammed the door and I'm like, I did not invite him over.
Sifani also charged with fraud and forgery in 2018, sentenced to a day in jail and probation. Meanwhile, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office says his name pops up in multiple reports there. The most recent, a sexual assault investigation in April of last year. They say prosecutors did not have enough evidence to file charges.
He could have attacked me going upstairs. He could have attacked me at point of entry into my house. It could have been me, and I'm glad that it wasn't.
Right now at clickondetroit.com, you can see what else the investigators at Local 4 have recently uncovered, including my deep dive into the problems at Vista Maria, the all-girls treatment facility in Dearborn Heights. All right, because of situations just like that one, the Michigan State Police are taking a special interest in online sexual predators. They're launching what's called the Opening Door campaign to draw attention to grooming and sextortion on social media. They're also encouraging parents to be aware of the signs and talk to their children about the dangers. I caught up with Colonel James Grady to learn more about the program.
Social media, the internet, it can be a really scary place, especially for parents, those with little ones. Can you tell me a little bit about the campaign?
Absolutely. So this campaign is about, providing some new public awareness that will hopefully to teach parents how to safely navigate through the digital world. As a parent myself, kids, they utilize their cell phones, their own computers, they're utilizing social media. They, of course, are playing video games, so you have that platform available as well. So it's so important for parents to have the education so that they have the situational awareness. I'm a parent myself of 4, and you have to be engaged, and you have to have the communication with your children so that they don't become victims, because there are tons of predators out there. Actually, there are tens of thousands of predators that are online looking to exploit children. And I'm a firm believer that once a child's innocence is lost, it's very difficult to replace. So educating the parent and the child is really the best way to defend against online predators.
It's so difficult because what we've seen is this is growing, and sadly in so many areas, is some of these apps, some of these predators on these apps will engage with these children and pretend to be the same age as these children. The manipulation tactics are so scary. What can parents do to not only speak with their, how can they speak to their kids, but not completely block them from playing these games and being with their friends? Because you can't just take their phone away. You can't just stop them from being on the internet. It's here. It's been here.
Again, education. You know, the parent has to be, educated. They should become comfortable in talking with their children about the dangers of utilizing the internet and how to protect themselves. They have to be engaged and have a situational awareness. I think that it's so important to have some rules, right? Parents can regulate some of that by going to the settings portions on the phone, on the games and things like that, and changing the settings. So the more educated you are, the more informed you are as a parent, you can help to prevent some of these things from happening with your own child, some of the dangers that are out there by the predators, because they are looking at every opportunity and every platform that they can utilize to victimize your child and your family. So education, again, is the key. And that's why we have these opening the door campaign right now that we're going to run through December 2025 this year. This is another way that, a lot of times law enforcement, we're looked at as being an agency that goes out and arrests people. In these situations, some people need to be arrested or just writing tickets, but we also have a role and responsibility to educate as well. And so that's what we're doing here with this opening the door campaign, is making sure that we educate people about internet crimes. We have the Michigan Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force here at the Michigan State Police, but we are working with our federal and local partners, our prosecutors across the state, to again ensure the safety of our youth, the families here in Michigan, that, if they want to utilize the internet, they can do it safely. But for those that become victims, we're going to find a way to address that through our investigative work, and then make sure that we move forward with prosecution. And so it really does take everybody working together. That's why we keep pushing. If you see something, say something. The okay to say in schools. School children just went back and started school here a couple weeks ago. So we need to get the education out there. They need to know that the Michigan State Police, we have a website you can go to as well to retrieve information on how to protect you and your family, so that you don't become victims of any type of internet crime. So you just have to, the education is important, and you have to stay engaged. I know when my kids were younger and they played video games, especially online, I used to ear hustle a little bit, pay attention to what was being said.
Age of your kids, for example.
Pardon?
What are the ages of your kids?
Oh, they're all young adults now.
So,
But
but at the time, I mean, maybe someone has a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old. That's a lot different than talking to maybe a 15, 16-year-old. So you're talking about boundaries. How do you talk to maybe your 7-year-old and maybe your 15-year-old? Because the 15-year-old doesn't want to hear it, and the 7-year-old maybe doesn't understand as well.
well, a younger child, you still have to make them aware. You still have to have the conversation. You are right. When they get to be teenagers, things change. I always like to say little kids, smaller problems, bigger kids, normally bigger, more challenging issues that you have to deal with and address. But either way, the communication is key, right? As a parent, we have a role and responsibility to sit down and lay the foundation and the rules for our youth in our home. I did as a dad, and my wife was in lockstep with me. Right, we were one team doing it together because kids like to divide and conquer if they can.
If dad says no, let's go to mom. If mom says no, let's go to dad. If they both
Absolutely,
say no, let's go to grandma.
absolutely. But no, we were one united front. We both remain as much as we can with children. It does get tougher when they get to be teenagers because they're walking away from you with their cell phones and God knows what their friends or what their peers are telling them, hey, look at this, look at that. But again, when you lay down the foundation when they're youth and they know what the rules are and what the expectations are, it definitely does help. And, as a parent, you have a responsibility to teach them the difference between right and wrong. And so you do your best as a parent because there's no perfect way to parent, right? They don't come out with a manual telling you exactly what to do, and every child is different. I've seen it. I got 4 of my own. But you do your best. And again, communication is key. Education is key. Situational awareness is key.
And I know you're really, really pushing this education. So what are some of the biggest indicators that something is wrong, that maybe someone's child or maybe someone's friend is talking to someone they should not be talking to?
You might see some differences in behavior. That's why it's so important to pay attention to your children. Parents know their kids after a while, right? I mean, you're raising them since day one, and you know that that's your role and responsibility. So if you're paying attention and you have to, again, establishing communication, from the time they're 1 or 2, when they're toddlers, when they start to talk, it's so important to do that. But I think you just have to, again, just remain engaged at all times, just paying attention to their behaviors, what's changed about them. They might be real snappy, become rude. You might see some depression start to set in. And if those things are happening, then, you need to pay attention and say, hey, let's sit down and talk. Again, each child is different. There's no perfect way to do it, but you have to do it.
Okay, I know it's a hard conversation to have, but like you said, they've got to do it.
Well, as you heard him say, these online predators can target the vulnerable, those children, and can be on any application. And you just got to pay attention to that behavior. So you can always report this type of thing to the state or a national tip line. You can do that at cybertipline.org or by calling 1-800-THE-LOST. Well, Southline schools back in session today, but what can we learn from the cybersecurity attack that shut down 13 schools for 3 days? We hear from an expert next. It's the cyber attack that crippled a school district. Brand new information into why classes in South Lyon schools had to be canceled for the past 3 days. The superintendent says the schools will be back open today. That cyber attack took out digital systems across the district, everything from computers to phones to security cameras. J. Scott Smith takes a look at the critical things needed to keep students safe.
Never assume that you're too small or too insignificant to fall victim to these attackers.
Matt Loria knows a thing or two about cyber attacks. He's the CEO of Rochester-based Auxium, which provides IT and cybersecurity services for everything from businesses to municipal organizations such as schools.
They're casting a wide net. They're leveraging AI tools to find the weak links, and that's how they're attacking. That's how they're getting in.
The South Lyon School District was the latest to get hit by a cyber attack. The breach took out the district's phones and surveillance systems and closed all 13 schools for the last 3 days. Cyber attacks have become much more common across the United States, with a stunning 82% of K-12 schools having experienced a cyber incident between July 2023 and December 2024. That's according to the nonprofit Center for Internet Security. Those attacks include ransomware attacks, phishing scams, data breaches, and malware. Regardless of whether it's personal or business, Matt says you need to make sure you're protecting your data.
And everybody should have multi-factor authentication on any account that they deem as important to them. And that could be your Facebook, your email, any systems for your business.
In school situations, he says, make sure school devices, particularly ones with sensitive data, are kept separate from public ones that could be accessed by students or outsiders. It doesn't take much of an opening for the bad guys to crash your system.
You don't have to be General Motors. You don't have to be a big hospital system. You don't have to be South Lyon schools. You can be much smaller than that and still fall victim to this.
Now, Matt says you want to focus on preventative measures. It doesn't matter if you own a business or you're part of a school district, because you want to avoid what happened out here. And remember, South Lyon schools, they're back in session starting this morning. In South Lyon, I'm J. Scott Smith for Local 4.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Mother Nature is clearly not ready to welcome in fall yet. Ashley says today will be the warmest of the week. How warm will it get? And a look at your weekend forecast next.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
So let's talk about rain chances or the lack thereof. And there is a very slight chance of seeing a non-severe thunderstorm up by Saginaw or maybe as far east as Lapeer for today. So that means most of us are staying dry, and a slight chance for later Sunday. I think the better chance for the rain to arrive after midnight Sunday and going into the early part of next week. So really the major weather story for you as we look ahead to the next several days will be the above average temperatures continuing. And we are in the last few days of summer, and it feels like we've gone all the way back into early August. So today's the warmest day of the week as we will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s today. So tagging on a few more degrees to your day planner, and we'll have a few increasing clouds this afternoon, but overall dry, and we're starting off with the sunshine. As we look at where we've been throughout the month so far, now that we're past the halfway mark, since last Thursday, we have been at or above average, and really only one of the last 7 days has been at average, everything else above it. And so we're going to tag on another one of those days today. If you're heading out to Comerica Park, day game against the Guardians, 1:10 first pitch, plan for it to be about 81 degrees at that point. We'll have a few more clouds mixing in, but mid to upper 80s as you're leaving the ballpark. So it's going to be a warm one. Try to stay hydrated and cool if you can. And then come Friday night, we're still on the warm side, but not as toasty as today. So for your local 4 game of the week or all of the high school football games across town, likely mid 70s at kickoff and upper 60s by game's end. So a pleasant evening for your Friday. High temperatures compared to where we should be. So we do take a dip tomorrow and we'll hover right around 80 degrees all the way through the weekend and into early next week. But with that said, I mean, come Monday, the seasonal average low, or I should say average high, is 72 degrees, which puts us about 10 degrees above what the average high should be. So we're still going to feel like we're in the summer months. Clouds and radar, just this little blip over by Flint where we might get a sprinkle today. I wouldn't bank on it. And then as we go into the weekend, well, you can see that we do have rain off to the west on Sunday morning, but it looks like it'll take some time to work its way here. So at this point, I'm still calling for some rain chances late Sunday evening into Sunday night, maybe a little more rain developing by Monday afternoon, and we'll have these off and on chances going into your Tuesday as well. As we track the tropics, we do have a tropical storm churning in the Atlantic, and this will continue to push to the northwest. And so I would say by the later part of the weekend into early next week, this becomes a hurricane, but that's when it starts to boomerang hook to the north and east, and so doesn't appear that Gabrielle will make landfall for the U.S., which is great news. 7-day forecast, so today 86, but then we're on either side of 80 through the middle of next week.
I'm Erica Erickson with a Local 4 News update. Residents in Van Buren Township are pushing back against a landfill's request to expand. Wayne Disposal stores hazardous waste and wants the state to approve a request to grow its facility. Before the EPA and Eagle give it the green light, there's a public informational meeting and hearing set for tonight at 5 in Belleville. Another 90 minutes of Local 4 Live over on Local 4 Plus and on Click on Detroit. Next, we are talking to communities looking to find a solution to prevent flooding disasters in their neighborhoods. Plus, 2 spots in Michigan were just named the best in the country when it comes to fall. And we're hearing about one man's journey to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Ashley's back with a look at the forecast in just a few minutes. Keep it here.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Erica Erickson in for Nick Monticelli. All right, we're going to get a live look at I-75 and I-94 this morning. And while usually we are seeing backups from construction, as you know, or rush hour, even crashes, sometimes it's for a very different reasons. It seems like this, many can't forget, widespread flooding following torrential rain on highways, as we saw 4 years ago. Sometimes water entering into homes and businesses. This morning, it's a question we're exploring. Is there anything that can be done to mitigate these outcomes? The city of Detroit passed stormwater ordinance in 2018. Shante Passmore explains how it's going to take a lot more communities to problem solve.
When you visit Michigan Central, your eyes can't help but gravitate towards the former train station, but the pristine landscape that will also grab your attention. And right now we are learning that these plants are on the first line of defense when it comes to curbing floods.
Michigan Central is an architectural feat. The sprawling 30-acre property is hailed as the tech and cultural hub for innovators and leaders. What may be just as impressive, the stormwater management features overlooked while in plain sight.
The pavers on the two plazas, they're permeable pavers. So even the hard surface that you walk on actually has this function of filtering the water.
Meaning no runoff is immediately released into the sewer system. A big deal, considering how the city of Detroit has a combined sewer system. Sanitary and storm water use the same pipes.
We're getting more intense, frequent storms. So we either want to slow the water down or better yet, get it out of the system altogether.
After multiple floodings, the city passed a stormwater management ordinance nearly 7 years ago. Michael Marks, a civil engineer at Giffords Webster, shows Local 4 how his firm maximized every opportunity at Bagley Mobility Hub.
These are above ground stormwater rainwater harvesting cisterns. It's about 75,000 gallons of stormwater that's stored in these tanks and can be reused for irrigation.
The parking garage roof captures precipitation that will be stored in the cisterns. Michigan Central says there are also drought-tolerant plants engineered to capture all of the water. In fact, when the Riverfront Conservancy built the Southwest Greenway, the firm worked alongside to also retain their stormwater. Marks believes homeowners can adopt some of the ideas on a smaller scale. So I call this a rain garden, but what's the official term?
A bioretention area.
And what does it do exactly?
It's a vegetated, lower planted area. And the idea is that all the surface stormwater flows over land to this low area and is accumulated.
The bioretention area is not only functional, but beautiful.
It's nice, it's protected, so I walk around all these areas.
Stormwater management used to be hidden underground. Could it be? It's time to bring it up to the surface, sparking conversations about how to not overwhelm an aging infrastructure while preventing flooding.
We all need to do our part to help reduce the load on it.
So we are standing outside of New Lab, and if you've been wondering why we're here, well, this is a rain garden. If you've been paying attention to class, it's also known as a bioretention area. The city says that Michigan Central is one of 135 projects tackling stormwater management in the city. But the thinking for a lot of folks, for a regional problem, it's going to require a regional solution. So they're hoping more communities will jump on the bandwagon. We're in Corktown. I'm Shantae Passmore, Local 4.
All right. Earlier this week here on Local 4 Live, our Priya Mann spoke to Wayne County Executive Warren Evans about Wayne County's storm management system. It's an all-in effort to prevent flooding and keep our roads and neighborhoods safe. The county has a budget of more than $70 million to clean roads, clear catch basins, and help rainwater flow away.
Let's sweep the streets, get that stuff away from the catch basins that are getting, filled with leaves, all of those types of debris so the water can't flow well. We want to suck out the catch basins. We want to work on the county's drains, and we want to work on detention ponds. You notice around subdivisions, there's always this detention pond that's required to go in that's supposed to take the rainwater and hold it until a major storm is over and then let it off into the system. By and large, if you look at any catch basin in Wayne County, detention pond, they're already full to the top. There's a maintenance problem there that doesn't allow it to do what it was designed to do in the first place. And so, dirty catch basins, detention pond problems, they're all, I think, significantly affect the flooding that we have. Sure, we have infrastructure issues, but that's all you hear engineers talk about is how many hundreds of millions of dollars it will take to change the infrastructure. We're just trying to flip this a little bit. Let's take the infrastructure we have now and make it work the way it was designed. And let's see how much relief we can get from that. The taxpayers deserve that. The citizens deserve that. And it's a massive task, but we're on it. We've already cleaned about 150 catch basins.
Oh, wow.
We've done about 15 miles worth of road, and this will go on, weather permitting, through 27.
So how do you organize, where you're going to start tackling first and which communities and then working your way? You've already mentioned you've done quite a number already.
Yeah, you try to work it towards where the water discharges into the river.
Okay.
And then work your way backwards. That's the only way that it will really work well. So drains, catch basins, those sorts of things, let's work our way up. We got 43 communities.
Right.
But there is a scientific strategy that will help us work through as effectively as we can, and the engineers and the DPS people are working on that.
By the way, the county maintains more than 50,000 catch basins and 1,600 miles for street sweeping. Now, you can catch the entire interview with Warren Evans on clickondetroit.com and our YouTube page. Well, we've got big news for your finances. The Federal Reserve lowered interest rates, but experts say you shouldn't wait around for more cuts to make changes. What they suggest you do right now to cut down your debt. Stay with us. Welcome back. In his first visit to Michigan in 6 months, Vice President J.D. Vance certainly made some headlines. While in Howell Wednesday at a manufacturing facility called Hatch Stamping, the VP told the crowd the administration is ready to send National Guard troops to Detroit to help fight crime. The governor just has to say the word.
The city of Detroit, we know, has got some serious crime problems, and we know that it's the people in Detroit who suffer the most when crime is allowed to run rampant. Gretchen, we are happy to send the National Guard to Detroit, Michigan. All you got to do is ask.
It's a violation of our Constitution, of our state sovereignty, and I think it would be an embarrassment here, just like it's an embarrassment anywhere else they do it.
Now, the Trump administration has activated the National Guard in Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and this week in Memphis. By the way, Memphis had the nation's worst violent crime rate in 2024, while Detroit was second worst. Mayor Mike Duggan's office is pushing back, saying key areas of crime like carjackings have seen dramatic drops. A spokesperson says, quote, the current partnership between federal, state, county, and private violence prevention groups is achieving record reductions in crime, and it would be a serious mistake to abandon this successful strategy. The governor, meanwhile, has not responded to the vice president's comments. All right, live look at Capitol Hill, where House oversight committees are back at it today, this time looking at K-12 education. But Wednesday's meeting was all about the FBI. For a second day, FBI Director Kash Patel was grilled by lawmakers for how he's running the agency. The main focus has been the Charlie Kirk investigation and the Jeffrey Epstein case. And again, he got into it with Democratic lawmakers.
I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials under your direct control.
Has anyone released more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much more.
Did Comey? Did Wray?
Much more.
Did they?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it, but it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you, there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes
if you're gonna
or
mock
no,
me?
Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No? A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F?
it
Don't wanna
sounds
do
like
it?
you don't want to tell us.
A lot of arguing going on there. Republicans are siding and supporting Patel. However, many Republicans also asking Director Patel to release all the Epstein documents and be more transparent with that case. All right, live look over London, England, as President Trump gets ready to close out his visit with UK leaders. Yesterday was all about pomp and circumstance, but today President Trump is switching focus to discuss trade and the global economy. Alice Barr is outside Buckingham Palace as both countries get to work while protesters outside call for change.
Good morning. Today, some of the pressing issues that have been lurking in the background of all the royal splendor take center stage as President Trump meets with the UK Prime Minister, with foreign wars and trade topping the agenda.
President Trump turning to politics today after the pomp of a lavish royal banquet, capping a day of high ceremony in his unprecedented second state visit to the UK.
This is truly one of the highest honors of my life.
King Charles and the royal family treating the president and first lady to carriage rides and an elaborate military display in a clear effort to strengthen ties at a critical moment.
As tyranny once again threatens Europe, we and our allies stand together in support of Ukraine to deter aggression and secure peace.
Solidarity for Ukraine top of mind as the president meets today with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer at his country residence.
Donald Trump, you can't hide!
Away from the protests in London, focused also on the escalating war in Gaza. Prime Minister Starmer planning to formally recognize a Palestinian state after President Trump's visit, a move the president opposes. Looking for common ground through commerce, the two leaders working to refine the U.S.-UK trade deal.
We made a deal, and it's a great deal, and I'm into helping them. Our country is doing very well.
Joined today by a who's who of top American tech CEOs amid a Trump administration push to increase AI exports to allies and a newly announced U.S.-UK tech pact to advance AI and nuclear technologies, forging future ties in a long, enduring alliance.
President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer are set to end the day with a press conference before the president boards Air Force One, returning to Washington tonight. In London, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Okay, back to Washington, where the Federal Reserve has been under pressure from President Donald Trump, facing challenges to its independence amid economic uncertainty caused by tariffs and trade policies. Yesterday, the Fed made a big move, cutting interest rates for the first time this year. This decision comes as the Fed watches how the president's tariffs impact inflation, which has started to rise, but so far has remained steady. At the same time, the job market is showing warning signs. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said it's crucial to keep the Fed independent and away from politics.
It's deeply in our culture to do our work based on the incoming data and never consider anything else. That's just, everybody who's at the Fed really feels strongly about that way. So, you know, you'll know it by the way we talk about what we're doing, by the speeches that people give, by the decisions that we make. You'll know that we're just still going to do that. That's all we do. And we don't frame these questions at all or see them in terms of political outcomes. I think when you get to another part of Washington, everything is seen through the lens of, does it help or hurt this political party, this politician? You know, that's the framework. And I think people find it hard to believe that that is not at all the way we think about things at the Fed. We're taking a longer perspective. We're trying to, you know, serve the American people as best we can. So I think you would be able to tell. I don't believe we'll ever get to that place. You know, I would say we're doing our work exactly as we always have now.
And taking a live look at the stock futures board this morning, futures are on the rise right now following that rate cut. Policymakers are expecting 2 more cuts by the end of this year. But there's another big factor impacting the markets: how Americans are handling their debts. Credit scores are dropping at the fastest rate since the Great Recession. The national average FICO score fell 2 points this year, the biggest drop since 2009, according to new data. Experts say people can't just wait for the Fed. They need to take charge and work on lowering their debt now.
Inflation is sticking around. Interest rates are still really high, even with these cuts from the Fed. So it's just a really tough time for an awful lot of people. There are things that you can do with interest rates that will have a bigger impact than anything that the Fed will do.
It's tough, but experts suggest to lower those debts, shop around for a mortgage or auto loan, or make a balance transfer to a 0% interest credit card. That will help lower interest payments each month. All right, your 4-1 weather forecast is next. And then here's a quiz for you. The iconic moment in Detroit happened, well, I'll say Metro Detroit, happened this day in history. Now, here's a hint. It was one of the biggest events to ever happen at the Pontiac Silverdome. Rack your brain. Stay tuned. All right, let's take a live look at the city of Detroit and remember a historic day back in 1987 when Pope John Paul II visited the Motor City. The Pope visited the Detroit Archdiocese. During his 2-day stay, he stopped at several different spots, meeting Catholics from all over. As a Polish-born leader, Pope John Paul II made a special trip to the Polish-American community in Hamtramck, showing his longtime support for Polish people at home and around the world. We are also looking at video from the Local 4 vault showing the Mass he held at the Pontiac Silverdome. Now let's get a look at your forecast with Ashley Bersey.
Now, 4-1 weather with Exact Track 4D.
So let's talk about rain chances or the lack thereof. And there is a very slight chance of seeing a non-severe thunderstorm up by Saginaw or maybe as far east as Lapeer for today. So that means most of us are staying dry, and a slight chance for later Sunday. I think the better chance for the rain to arrive after midnight Sunday and going into the early part of next week. So really the major weather story for you as we look ahead to the next several days will be the above average temperatures continuing. And we are in the last few days of summer, and it feels like we've gone all the way back into early August. So today's the warmest day of the week, as we will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s today. So tagging on a few more degrees to your day planner, and we'll have a few increasing clouds this afternoon, but overall dry, and we're starting off with the sunshine. As we look at where we've been throughout the month so far,
now that we're past the halfway mark. Since last Thursday, we have been at or above average, and really only one of the last 7 days has been at average, everything else above it. And so we're going to tag on another one of those days today. If you're heading out to Comerica Park, day game against the Guardians, 1:10 first pitch, plan for it to be about 81 degrees at that point. We'll have a few more clouds mixing in, but mid to upper 80s as you're leaving the ballpark. So it's going to be a warm one. Try to stay hydrated and cool if you can. And then come Friday night, we're still on the warm side, but not as toasty as today. So for your local 4 game of the week or all of the high school football games across town, likely mid 70s at kickoff and upper 60s by game's end. So a pleasant evening for your Friday. High temperatures compared to where we should be. So we do take a dip tomorrow and we'll hover right around 80 degrees all the way through the weekend and into early next week. But with that said, I mean, come Monday, the seasonal average low, or I should say average high, is 72 degrees, which puts us about 10 degrees above what the average high should be. So we're still going to feel like we're in the summer months. Clouds and radar, just this little blip over by Flint where we might get a sprinkle today. I wouldn't bank on it. And then as we go into the weekend, well, you can see that we do have rain off to the west on Sunday morning, but it looks like it'll take some time to work its way here. So at this point, I'm still calling for some rain chances late Sunday evening into Sunday night, maybe a little more rain developing by Monday afternoon, and we'll have these off and on chances going into your Tuesday as well. As we track the tropics, we do have a tropical storm churning in the Atlantic, and this will continue to push to the northwest. And so I would say by the later part of the weekend into early next week, this becomes a hurricane, but that's when it starts to boomerang hook to the north and east, and so doesn't appear that Gabrielle will make landfall for the U.S., which is great news. 7-day forecast, so today 86, but then we're on either side of 80 through the middle of next week.
All right, even though it's not feeling like it, Michigan is ready for fall. Let's get a live look at Mackinac Island this morning. There's 2 spots in Michigan being named some of the best when it comes to autumn. We know we're the best, right? That's next. All right, I like this. Let's take a look at some of my picks from Local 4 insiders. May not feel like fall outside, but we'll be getting some first sights of the season here. The leaves are starting to turn colors here in Metro Detroit. This was a photo posted by Oscar in the Rosedale Park historic neighborhood in Detroit. So beautiful. You can start to see the leaves changing. If you want to submit some of your own My Picks, all you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen or head to the My Picks page at clickondetroit.com. All right, let's keep some of the fall vibes going with a live look at Mackinac Island. And today the island is celebrating big time. Mackinac Island just got crowned America's best place to visit for fall by USA Today's 10 Best Awards. USA Today's touting how amazing the island is in autumn with its slower pace, beautiful fall colors, and unique car-free environment. If you've been there, you know how it can be just so relaxing. Get some of that fudge while you're there. Mackinac has been a fan favorite for years, recently winning Best Summer Travel Destination for the 3rd year in a row. Not surprised. And if you're heading to Mackinac Island this fall, why not extend your trip and explore Michigan's Upper Peninsula? We're taking a look at Houghton, Michigan in the UP this morning. USA Today's 10 Best list also named the Upper Peninsula as the #1 destination for fall colors. The site says with about 7 million acres of forest along 3 Great Lakes, there are 10 fall color routes that cover nearly 1,500 miles, giving everyone plenty of chances to enjoy a peaceful drive and take in the amazing autumn scenery. Oh, I love it. All right, we have so much more coming up in our next hour of news, including my talk with Dr. Frank McGeorge about a new blood test that could detect colon cancer. And we think one man's journey will really inspire you today. You'll meet an amputee from Metro Detroit, yes, who just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, believe it. Then today is National Cheeseburger Day, and if you're looking for a way to celebrate, oh, we've got you covered. We'll reveal the 5 best burger spots in Metro Detroit, chosen by our viewers in our Vote for the Best competition.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Erica Erickson in for Nick Monticelli this morning. All right, we've got a lot to talk about over the next hour. It's a legal battle over what's being stored in a landfill in Wayne County, why the fight over Wayne disposal is heating up again today. And we'll take you to London, where President Trump is talking trade and tariffs with leaders today, what he's hoping to get out of his trip. And another trip is pushing the limits for one climber who made it to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro with one leg. Believe it. How he made that challenging climb. It's a story we think will leave you feeling inspired this morning. All right, but first, let's get to your headlines, starting with a developing story on Detroit's west side. Police are going through all of the shell casings found at the scene of a shooting at a motorcycle club. This is what it looked like outside of the building near Ewald Circle and Livernois this morning. Our crew on the scene noticed at least 90 evidence markers on the ground. We're told one person was shot and is thankfully expected to survive. We'll keep you posted when we learn more. Now to a story we've been following for years. A jury has convicted a man for sexually assaulting a 63-year-old Roseville woman and strangling her with a shoelace. Stephen Freeman was found guilty of first-degree murder, home invasion, and more. Police say in October of 2022, he murdered Gabrielle Seitz, then put her body into his truck and drove off. He got hit by a semi-truck, then ran from the scene, and that's when police found the woman's body in the truck. Freeman faces life without parole at his sentencing. Wayne State University's Board of Governors is looking for a new permanent president after Kimberly Andrews Espy officially put in her resignation. Some in the university community weren't happy with the way she handled a Gaza war protest on campus last year. There's also been reported frustrations of her not being accessible to students and faculty. On Wednesday, the school announced an interim president, Richard Bershabach, who recently served as dean of the Wayne State Law School. WSU is the second Michigan school to be searching for a new leader in recent months. Michigan is also currently conducting a search for a permanent president. DTE is asking for more money for your gas bill. The company told the Michigan Public Service Commission it plans to increase natural gas distribution rates. It's unclear how much it might go up. We could find out when DTE files its formal application in November. This request comes just a year after DTE was approved for a $113 million increase, which pushed bills up about 2%. DTE is also trying to raise electricity rates by about $574 million. It could increase your bills by 11%. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel says she plans to fight back against both hikes. In a statement, she said in part, quote, Michigan families should not be treated like an endless ATM. In Van Buren Township, a community is bracing for another fight against plans to expand operations at Wayne Disposal. People living nearby successfully challenged plans to bring radioactive waste from the Manhattan Project to the landfill. Shante Passmore explains how the company wants to add more hazardous wastes to what it already handles.
Hey there, so what exactly is Wayne Disposal asking for? Well, right now it's asking for approval to add even more hazardous waste storage capacity and disposal volume, some of it even going into containers. So later tonight there will be a public informational meeting and hearing, and already ahead of the big showdown, viewers have been reaching out to Local 4 to tell us they'll be there to pack the place and to also demonstrate beforehand. Recently, we got a rare look inside the operations of Wayne Disposal, owned by Republic Services. And right now, the facility is asking to expand vertically, which the state will need to approve if they meet the requirements.
The data proves the fact that we're safe. Everything is safe.
So the EPA and Eagle have already given notice that they intend to issue this particular type of operational license to Wayne Disposal. As for that meeting, it starts at 5 tonight in Belleville. I'm Shante Passmore, Local 4.
All right, thanks, Shante. Well, months of investigating paid off when police took a man into custody who they believed tricked minors into sending explicit photos and videos to him. Troubling cases like this is why the Michigan State Police launched the Opening the Door campaign to draw attention to grooming and sextortion on social media. I spoke with Colonel James Grady about how it's making parents more aware.
This campaign is about, providing some new public awareness that will hopefully to teach parents how to safely navigate through the digital world. As a parent myself, kids, they utilize their cell phones, they're on computers, they're utilizing social media. They, of course, are playing video games, so you have that platform available as well. So it's so important for parents to have their education so that they have the situational awareness. I'm a parent myself of 4, and you have to be engaged, and you have to have the communication with your children so that they don't become victims, because there are tons of predators out there. Actually, there are tens of thousands of predators that are online looking to exploit children. And I'm a firm believer that once a child's innocence is lost, it's very difficult to replace. So educating the parent and the child is really the best way to.
If you notice any signs, you can always report this type of behavior to the state or a national tip line. You can do that at a cybertipline.org or by calling 1-800-THE-LOST. Well, screening for colon cancer may be intimidating, but a new test could make it a little easier. Dr. Frank McGeorge is testing it out for himself after the break. Imagine screening for colon cancer with a routine blood test. Our Dr. Frank McGeorge recently tried the FDA-approved Shield test to see if it's as easy as it sounds. He had his blood drawn and then waited for the results to be sent to his phone. Now, we sat down to talk about his experience and why this could be a good option for certain people. Okay, Frank, so you just had a story on getting colonoscopies, and there's another way for people who just really, really dread the colonoscopy.
Yeah, so, we looked into the Shield blood test, which is a blood test to basically detect colon cancer as a screening tool. And that's really an important point because colon cancer is something that can sneak up on people, and the recommendation is age 45 and up, you should have a screening test, assuming you are of average risk, and we can get back to that.
Okay.
But the point is, the Shield blood test, and I guess just to back up a little bit, there are three main ways that we could think about screening. We think about a colonoscopy, which is a big tube through your colon, generally unpleasant, requires a lot of prep, considered invasive.
And they usually put people under for that,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's not something you're going to want to do awake or even like semi-aware.
Okay.
Then there is Cologuard, which is a stool-based test where you literally poop into a bucket, this bucket, and
there you go. There's some in there.
There you go. And you mail this off to a lab where it is tested for colon cancer DNA and blood. Then there's actually something called a fecal immunochemical test, which is actually a I'm going to say it's really looking for blood in the stool, but it's looking for blood in the stool with a little fancy immunochemical trick. That has to be repeated every year.
Okay.
And then finally, there is a Shield blood test, and I just show the Band-Aid because that's basically all you end up with is a Band-Aid after they draw your blood.
Okay.
And so this story was about the Shield blood test as a screening tool, and this is very new. It's only been around for basically about a year in clinical use. And it is actually, compared to colonoscopy, Cologuard, and fecal immunochemical tests, a fairly simple way to do things if you are not interested in one of these other alternatives. So basically the process is very straightforward. You get your blood tested, you get your blood drawn, it is sent in a kit to a lab in California where they look for colon cancer DNA in your blood. And the reason for that is if you have colon cancer, it's going to invade and it's going to get into your blood, your systemic blood, and when they draw the blood, they can look for DNA that is not you, that is colon cancer. If they find it, the test flags positive. If it flags positive, then you need to get a colonoscopy. But if it's negative, you're considered clear for 3 years, which is actually the same interval that you are considered clear for Cologuard.
So who would this not be for, this Shield test?
Yeah, so that's a really important point, and actually it sort of holds for Cologuard too. If you are of high risk, and high risk means family history, it means processes like inflammatory bowel disease, it means you yourself have symptoms, bleeding, unusual pain, something like that. If you fall out of the I'm generally healthy, I have no family history, I have no other risk factors, I have no genetic history that is suspicious for a higher risk of colon cancer, then these are appropriate tests. But if you have any of the other risk factors that put you at higher than normal risk, or basically higher risk, then you do need a colonoscopy. And the reason for that is, so colonoscopy is not only better at identifying cancerous lesions, but it can also identify precancerous lesions. So polyps,
that sounds key, yeah.
Polyps that may turn into cancer, not only can you see them when you do the colonoscopy, but you can remove them and test them. Not all polyps are going to turn into cancer, but you do need to find the ones that are and remove them, and that's what colonoscopy is ideal for. These tests are not ideal for that. I will say though, the Shield blood test is not going to pick up precancerous lesions at all. The Cologuard test does have an opportunity to pick up some precancerous lesions, so it's on that front a little better than Shield, but it's still nowhere near the gold standard of a colonoscopy.
As you're saying, gold standard, if you can, get your colonoscopy, but if you don't necessarily, if you're not high risk, go and get your blood drawn.
Well, and that's really it. You know, it's like, the nice thing is it's a menu of options because, you know, in the past, before these options were available and only colonoscopy was available, there were gobs of people who were like, I am not having a colonoscopy.
I know people like that, and I get it too. I mean, also some people, it's just like going to the doctor. You don't want to know too.
Right, exactly. And so for those people who are just dead set not having a colonoscopy, these are great alternatives to still help them screen for colon cancer in a very reasonable way. Again, not perfect, not as good, but still pretty good. And you know, to speak specifically to the Shield blood test, the Shield blood test is overall about 83-85% sensitive for detecting colon cancer, meaning all comers, all levels of potential cancer. It's 83% sensitive, meaning if you have cancer, it will find it. 17% basically are going to be false negatives, meaning there is cancer present and it might be missed. That's why Shield needs to be repeated every 3 years. But for more advanced levels of colon cancer, so that's like all comers, but for stage 2, 3, and 4, which are basically larger tumors that are beginning to like invade, that kind of thing, so stage 4 is actually the ultimate level of invasion. But for more invasive levels of colon cancer, the Shield blood test was actually, in their studies, 100% sensitive. So if you do have 100%, so if you do have more advanced colon cancer, your Shield test is most likely going to be positive. I mean, in their studies, again, 100%. But if you have a very, very early form of colon cancer, there is a chance it might be missed with the Shield blood test. And again, the emphasis would be that's why you need to repeat it every 3 years. Cologuard, same thing every 3 years. Colonoscopy, every 10 years. It gives you sort of a level of safety cushion clearance, if you will.
Start at 45, but again, gold standard. other options here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, to be fair also, I want to mention insurance coverage. Colonoscopy is covered actually across the board. I mean, these are all FDA approved. Colonoscopy is covered across the board by insurance companies as a screening tool. Cologuard is actually very well accepted now and is covered pretty much across the board by both private and public insurers. So we're talking about, you know, Medicare, Medicaid type insurance. The Shield blood test is kind of interesting because it is so new. It's only been around for about a year. It is really only covered by Medicare and the VA insurance program. Private insurers do not universally cover the Shield blood test yet. Some do, but not all. And that's kind of an important thing. So if your doctor says, if you say, I'm not pooping in a cup and sending that in, or in a jar and sending that in, I'm not getting a colonoscopy, I want to get a Shield test, the next thing, and your doctor says, yeah, I think that's a good idea, the next thing you need to do is call your insurance company and make sure that it is going to be covered.
Okay, a lot of useful information there. Wow. And I know a lot of people who wouldn't want to do that, and this is,
well, you know, I mean, this is
a little less,
right.
like you'd say, a little less icky option.
Exactly. I mean, this is not horrible.
No.
But, you know, big picture, sending your poop in by UPS to the lab is just a little weird to some people.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't just want to go under and do the whole doctor
Precisely.
visit and things like that.
Precisely. Thanks,
All right.
Erica.
Thanks a lot, Frank. Gotta leave it to Frank. He's pretty good, isn't he? All right, Ashley's weekend forecast includes a chance of rain, but don't let it ruin your weekend plans. Let's take a live look at Little Caesars Arena. We'll talk about the popular family event that's happening inside this weekend. Grab your cup of coffee with me and stay with us. All right, let's say good morning to LCA as they get the ice rink ready, but not for the Red Wings this time. Before Hockeytown has its turn, some beloved characters will be in the spotlight. Here's a hint. We don't talk about Bruno. Disney on Ice is bringing Frozen and Encanto to Little Caesars Arena this weekend. The show starts today and runs through Sunday. You can bring the kids for a magical ice skating show filled with songs, aerial acrobatics, and unforgettable moments. Tickets are on sale now on Ticketmaster's website and the area box office. All right, we are a long way from seeing an ice outside here, thankfully, not gonna lie. But there's a little rain, we might need it. Here's Ashley with the forecast.
Now, forewarned weather with ExactTrack 4D.
So let's talk about rain chances or the lack thereof. And there is a very slight chance of seeing a non-severe thunderstorm up by Saginaw or maybe as far east as Lapeer for today. So that means most of us are staying dry, and a slight chance for later Sunday. I think the better chance for the rain to arrive after midnight Sunday and going into the early part of next week. So really the major weather story for you as we look ahead to the next several days will be the above average temperatures continuing. And we are in the last few days of summer, and it feels like we've gone all the way back into early August. So today's the warmest day of the week, as we will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s today. So tagging on a few more degrees to your day planner, and we'll have a few increasing clouds this afternoon, but overall dry, and we're starting off with the sunshine. As we look at where we've been throughout the month so far, now that we're past the halfway mark, since last Thursday, we have been at or above average, and really only one of the last 7 days has been at average, everything else above it. And so we're going to tag on another one of those days today. If you're heading out to Comerica Park, day game against the Guardians, 1:10 first pitch, plan for it to be about 81 degrees at that point. We'll have a few more clouds mixing in, but mid to upper 80s as you're leaving the ballpark. So it's going to be a warm one. Try to stay hydrated and cool if you can. And then come Friday night, we're still on the warm side, but not as toasty as today. So for your Local 4 game of the week, or all of the high school football games across town, likely mid 70s at kickoff and upper 60s by game's end. So a pleasant evening for your Friday. High temperatures compared to where we should be. So we do take a dip tomorrow, and we'll hover right around 80 degrees all the way through the weekend and into early next week. But with that said, I mean, come Monday, the seasonal average low, or I should say average high, is 72 degrees, which puts us about 10 degrees above what the average high should be. So we're still going to feel like we're in the summer months. Clouds and radar, just this little blip over by Flint where we might get a sprinkle today. I wouldn't bank on it. And then as we go into the weekend, well, you can see that we do have rain off to the west on Sunday morning, but it looks like it'll take some time to work its way here. So at this point, I'm still calling for some rain chances late Sunday evening into Sunday night, maybe a little more rain developing by Monday afternoon, and we'll have these off and on chances going into your Tuesday as well. As we track the tropics, we do have a tropical storm churning in the Atlantic, and this will continue to push to the northwest. And so I would say by the later part of the weekend into early next week, this becomes a hurricane, but that's when it starts to boomerang hook to the north and east, and so doesn't appear that Gabrielle will make landfall for the U.S., which is great news. 7-day forecast, so today 86, but then we're on either side of 80 through the middle of next week.
Tomorrow's Local 4 Game of the Week, brought to you by State Champs Game Time Live and presented by Hungry Howie's. Our Local 4 Game of the Week features two schools coming off close wins in Week 3. Sterling Heights Stevenson takes on Macomb, Dakota at 7 p.m. when both put their undefeated records on the line. You can watch it for free on our Local 4 Plus app or at clickondetroit.com. Okay, we know it's not exactly feeling like fall right now. We'll take it. But it is cider mill season, and we're going to reveal the Michigan spot just named one of the best apple picking spots in the entire country. You don't want to miss it. There's a bill making its way through Lansing right now that could make protesting in the street without a permit a criminal offense. The Michigan House passed this with a 61-42 vote. Blocking traffic is a civil offense that comes with a $100 fine, but this bill would make it a misdemeanor with up to 93 days in jail and a much heftier fine of $5,000. Supporters praise this for its focus on public safety, while opponents worry it could hamper free speech and protest rights. The bill now heads to the Democrat-controlled Senate. Also out of Lansing, Governor Whitmer moving to get rid of, quote, barriers keeping people from getting vaccines, including a COVID booster. Yesterday, she signed an executive directive to make vaccines easier to get. We'll make sure pharmacists, healthcare providers, and everyone else can get clear information about the COVID vaccine. There's also a focus on finding and removing any obstacles which could prevent anyone from getting vaccinated. It also pushes insurance companies, including Medicaid, to cover the cost of COVID boosters. Now to Rogers City, where it's a little foggy and rainy this morning, but there's a good reason you might want to take the trip up north for it. USA Today's 10 Best Readers' Choice Awards ranked, I'm gonna hope I'm saying this right, Naby's Apple Farm and Cider Works as one of the best in the country. In the country! It offers more than just apple picking, too. Families can enjoy wagon rides, a petting zoo, games, delicious pizza, fresh hard cider, and a bakery filled with treats. Plus, it's a top spot for leaf peeping with beautiful colors in early October. Gotta make it up there. All right, life after losing a leg is a challenging and emotional time I can't even begin to understand. But for one man, it didn't stop him from climbing a mountain. This is an uplifting talk you'll want to stick around for next.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Erica Erickson in for Nick Monticelli. We're having a lot of fun this morning. Thanks for sticking around and watching. And what are you looking at? You're getting a live look out of Tanzania near the base of Mount Kilimanjaro. It was the stage for the journey of a lifetime. Now, some of you might remember when we talked with Steve Anir, I hope you said your name right, Steve, he's sitting right next to me, about the plans to climb the mountain. He left for Africa back in August. Now, he made it to the summit in early September. No doubt the climb is challenging for anyone, but he had his left leg amputated when he was just 11 years old. However, of course, he was determined to make the climb to raise money for the Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness. Steve, you are back. You are just smiling. You look like, hey, this was no big deal. I mean, first of all, how are you feeling right now?
Pretty good. It's taken us probably longer than we thought to recover from the climb. I did the climb with my wife, Shauna, and it had an effect on us that we didn't really understand or predicted.
What was that? Really, tell me.
Well, I think it was the cumulative effect of everything that happened. So you're on the mountain for about 10 days and, you know, as you get higher, the altitude starts to take over a little bit and your appetite sort of suffers and you have this impact of day after day climbing and getting higher and higher up in the mountain. So, you know, when we got to the top, we were, you know, it was an incredible experience to have made it to the top. And then we took 2 days to then come back down. We came down quite quickly. And our bodies were, you know, we were really excited and mentally we were very motivated, but our bodies were just kind of wearing down a little bit. But, you know, we're starting to feel pretty good now.
So the whole climb was how many days?
It took us, was 1 day of orientation, and we had 9 days on the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what altitude, I mean, what are we talking? How high?
It's 19,341 feet.
Oh, that's
top
it?
of Kilimanjaro, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
So what does that do, just being that high of altitude? I mean, I can think of going on a plane and just rising. What does that do for that long?
Well, it's really interesting because you don't really know how it's going to affect you. So we had a climbing party of 14 people, plus our guides and porters, and everyone kind of suffered in a different way or experienced it in a different way. Some people had light headaches and, you know, you're always short of breath. So as you get higher and higher up, it becomes harder to breathe. And other people were really heavily affected by it and couldn't go down, you know, the mountain after they got to the top. So it just has a, you know, real range of impact on the body. You don't know until you do it. And it's really, once you get over 15,000 feet, that's when I started to feel it most, and most of our party did. We had a great set of guides though, and they were very methodical and disciplined around the pace at which we went, what we did each day, trying to force us to eat because you lose your appetite and you have trouble sleeping, you know, as you get further up the mountain. So all of these things kind of come into play, and you know about them and you read about them, but until you do it, you don't really understand the impact it has on you.
So I'm sure everyone you were with had 2 legs.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. How did you manage this? I mean, this is quite difficult for anyone.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've lived my life pretty much on crutches. So as you said, amputated left leg when I was 11. So it's very normal for me. And, you know, in training for something like this, we went to Colorado and trained there, and I've done a lot of hiking. So for me, it's just
it's just the way of life.
It is the way I am. And my secret weapon was my wife, Shauna. So, you know, when we got to difficult parts on the mountain, if I'm sort of swinging and it's a bit precarious in the step that I'm taking or the rock I'm climbing, you know, she would grab one of my, we would kind of figure out how we would handle that particular piece of it. And she was always there, you know, to give me a push, to pull me back, to, you know, help me with the crutches or whatever it might be.
I love that.
We did it together. And so I was much stronger because of her presence alongside me on the mountain.
And for those who don't know your story, Steve, how did you lose your leg when you were 11?
I was born with a blood circulation problem, had a number of operations when I was a kid, and it was unfixable with the technology at the time. So the solution was to amputate, and that was the right call at the time. So this is my normal, and when I do things and challenge myself, I don't challenge myself in the context of having one leg. I challenge myself in the context of this is who I am.
This is who you are. And
can I do more? Can I go harder? Can I go faster? Can I, push myself?
And can you do anything that anyone else does?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's about how I challenge myself and not define myself by how others would see me. And I think that's common for people who look different or act different or are different from the regular person, is that they get defined by what's normal for everybody else. And that's not the right way to look at it. You've got to define yourself by what's your normal and what challenges you inside yourself.
So you're also raising funds for the Kirk Gibson Foundation. Tell me about that. How'd you get involved with that?
Well, I think this was made it so much more important to me and Shauna to do this. It was always been a dream to climb that mountain, and being able to do it and help other people added a purpose to it that I wouldn't have otherwise had, and that purpose has come through my work with Kirk's Foundation and being able to help people live with Parkinson's disease. It's the fastest growing neurological disease in the US. The approach to care in the US is poorly funded, and so a lot needs to be done by everybody to step up and help people live with the disease. The cure is probably some years away yet, but we can do a lot to help people live a high quality of life through the programs that we can provide.
So when you're doing this, I mean, obviously you've got a thrill and you've accomplished something. Do you have plans? What's your next? I mean, I'm sure you want to do something. What's next?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, and cue eye roll from my wife, but I'm not sure what that's going to be.
Ask your partner in crime.
Yeah, exactly
what are you guys doing next?
Yeah, and we'll figure it out, and there will be something. But for me, and I've been thinking about this since we did it. The approach to the fundraising has been incredible. And we had a $250,000 match from the Lash family that we've closed out. We have a new match that's starting up tomorrow from the Tom and Dina Archerplay family for another $250,000 match because of the climb. Yeah, I know.
Bravo.
It's been so generous, and the money's needed. It's going to fund the centre that we're opening in Farmington Hills to look after people with Parkinson's. So it's really important, and I need to do more. You finish something like this, and because of the incredible support that we've had, you feel, well, there's energy there, and how can we continue to galvanise that energy?
Keep the momentum. I know
exactly
I can tell you want to keep it going.
Yeah, so what comes next? I don't know, but I know that I and us in the foundation, us at the centre, we just need to do more to help people, fight this disease, and we will.
Steve, your passion is palpable. Thank you so much for being here. All right.
Great to be here.
If you want to learn more about the fight against Parkinson's, you can go to our website. It's kirkgibsonfoundation.org. You can also go to clickondetroit.com. And you can learn more ways to donate and get involved. That's kirkgibsonfoundation.org. All right. Thanks for coming back and sharing your story, Steve. Oh, my goodness. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the country and the world. 5 officers were shot and 3 killed while serving a warrant in York County, Pennsylvania. A procession was held late last night to honor the 3 officers who died in the line of duty. The 2 officers who survived are in critical but stable condition. The suspect was shot and killed by police. For the first time in 2025, Fed Chair Jerome Powell is cutting interest rates, but not by much. The Fed trimmed the benchmark rate by 0.25%, pointing to a cooling labor market. But with inflation still above the 2% goal, the Fed is easing down rates down slowly. But later this year, Powell indicated 2 more rate reductions are possible, depending on how the economy holds up. And that could mean slightly lower rates on mortgages and loans. Vice President J.D. Vance is coming off his stop here in Michigan. While in Howell yesterday at a manufacturing facility called Hatch Stamping, the VP told the crowd administration is ready to send National Guard troops to Detroit to help fight crime. The governor just has to say the word.
The city of Detroit, we know, has got some serious crime problems, and we know that it's the people in Detroit who suffer the most when crime is allowed to run rampant. Gretchen, we are happy to send the National Guard to Detroit, Michigan. All you got to do is ask.
It's a violation of our Constitution, of our state sovereignty, and I think it would be an embarrassment here, just like it's an embarrassment anywhere else they do it.
Los Angeles and Memphis this week. Mayor Mike Duggan's office pushing back, saying key areas of crime like carjackings have seen dramatic drops. A spokesperson says, quote, the current partnership between federal, state, county, and private violence prevention groups is achieving record reductions in crime, and it would be a serious mistake to abandon this successful strategy. The governor has not responded to the vice president's comments yet. Live look over London, England, as President Trump gets ready to close out his visit with UK leaders. Yesterday was all about pomp and circumstance, but today President Trump is switching focus to discuss trade and the global economy. Alice Barr is outside Buckingham Palace as both countries get to work, while protesters outside call for change.
Good morning. Today, some of the pressing issues that have been lurking in the background of all the royal splendor take center stage as President Trump meets with the UK Prime Minister, with foreign wars and trade topping the agenda.
President Trump turning to politics today after the pomp of a lavish royal banquet, capping a day of high ceremony in his unprecedented second state visit to the UK.
This is truly one of the highest honors of my life.
King Charles and the royal family treating the president and first lady to carriage rides and an elaborate military display in a clear effort to strengthen ties at a critical moment.
As tyranny once again threatens Europe, we and our allies stand together in support of Ukraine to deter aggression and secure peace.
Solidarity for Ukraine top of mind as the president meets today with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer at his country residence.
Donald Trump, you can't hide!
Away from the protests in London, focused also on the escalating war in Gaza. Prime Minister Starmer planning to formally recognize a Palestinian state after President Trump's visit, a move the president opposes. Looking for common ground through commerce, the two leaders working to refine the U.S.-UK trade deal.
We made a deal, and it's a great deal, and I'm into helping them. Our country is doing very well.
Joined today by a who's who of top American tech CEOs amid a Trump administration push to increase AI exports to allies and a newly announced U.S.-UK tech pact to advance AI and nuclear technologies, forging future ties in a long, enduring alliance.
President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer are set to end the day with a press conference before the president boards Air Force One, returning to Washington tonight. In London, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
President Trump is also making headlines in the late-night TV world. ABC is taking Jimmy Kimmel's show off the air amid controversy over Kimmel's recent comments. During his Monday monologue, he suggested conservative activist Charlie Kirk's alleged killer might have been a pro-Trump Republican. The decision also follows Nexstar, one of the nation's biggest TV station owners with 28 ABC affiliates, announcing it will stop airing the program. Pressure also mounted after FCC Chair Brendan Carr threatened possible license action against stations carrying the show. ABC has not said when or if Jimmy Kimmel Live will return. Hear what the president had to say about the move on his Truth Social platform. He celebrated the announcement and congratulated ABC for acting. The president closed saying, quote, "That leaves Jimmy and Seth," referring to Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers. And he wants NBC to remove both of the shows. Meta unveiled a new generation of its smart glasses Wednesday. This is CEO Mark Zuckerberg sporting the new glasses on stage yesterday, continuing its partnership with Ray-Ban. The glasses have a tiny display inside the lens along with a camera. The new pair will make it easier to interact with the company's artificial intelligence. Smart glasses are a niche product, but Ray-Ban says revenue from them has more than tripled for over a year at $800 a pop. Time will tell if he's right. It's National Cheeseburger Day, and if you're looking for somewhere to grab lunch or dinner, we'll help you out. A look at the best burgers in Metro Detroit, chosen by you. And then there are signs of fall. Maybe. Ashley's 7-day forecast next.
Now, forewarned weather with ExactTrack 4D.
So let's talk about rain chances or the lack thereof. And there is a very slight chance of seeing a non-severe thunderstorm up by Saginaw or maybe as far east as Lapeer for today. So that means most of us are staying dry, and a slight chance for later Sunday. I think the better chance for the rain to arrive after midnight Sunday and going into the early part of next week. So really the major weather story for you as we look ahead to the next several days will be the above average temperatures continuing. And we are in the last few days of summer, and it feels like we've gone all the way back into early August. So today's the warmest day of the week, as we will be topping out in the mid to upper 80s today. So tagging on a few more degrees to your day planner, and we'll have a few increasing clouds this afternoon, but overall dry, and we're starting off with the sunshine. As we look at where we've been throughout the month so far, now that we're past the halfway mark, since last Thursday, we have been at or above average, and really only one of the last 7 days has been at average, everything else above it. And so we're going to tag on another one of those days today. If you're heading out to Comerica Park, day game against the Guardians, 1:10 first pitch, plan for it to be about 81 degrees at that point. We'll have a few more clouds mixing in, but mid to upper 80s as you're leaving the ballpark. So it's going to be a warm one. Try to stay hydrated and cool if you can. And then come Friday night, we're still on the warm side, but not as toasty as today. So for your Local 4 game of the week or all of the high school football games across town, likely mid 70s at kickoff and upper 60s by game's end. So a pleasant evening for your Friday. High temperatures compared to where we should be. So we do take a dip tomorrow and we'll hover right around 80 degrees all the way through the weekend and into early next week. But with that said, I mean, come Monday, the seasonal average low, or I should say average high, is 72 degrees, which puts us about 10 degrees above what the average high should be. So we're still going to feel like we're in the summer months. Clouds and radar, just this little blip over by Flint where we might get a sprinkle today. I wouldn't bank on it. And then as we go into the weekend, well, you can see that we do have rain off to the west on Sunday morning, but it looks like it'll take some time to work its way here. So at this point, I'm still calling for some rain chances late Sunday evening into Sunday night, maybe a little more rain developing by Monday afternoon, and we'll have these off and on chances going into your Tuesday as well. As we track the tropics, we do have a tropical storm churning in the Atlantic, and this will continue to push to the northwest. And so I would say by the later part of the weekend into early next week, this becomes a hurricane, but that's when it starts to boomerang hook to the north and east, and so doesn't appear that Gabrielle will make landfall for the U.S., which is great news. 7-day forecast, so today 86, but then we're on either side of 80 through the middle of next week.
All right, thanks, Ashley. Well, it's National Cheeseburger Day, and if you're looking for a way to celebrate, we have you covered. This summer, thousands of Metro Detroiters nominated and voted for their favorite place to get a burger. So let's show you the winners. All right, Redcoat Tavern topped the list. Redcoat is good. If you've never been, I recommend it. Followed by Miller's Bar in Dearborn. That's where Jimmy Fallon just went when he visited. And I have I'm talking to my crew in my ear, and we're having a little argument. He thinks Miller's Bar does not deserve to be there. I disagree. I think Miller's is excellent. It's different. Try it out. Argue if you want. We've also got Basement Burger Bar, Falls Sports Lounge in Dearborn. I haven't been there. I'm going to try that out. And Shamrock Pub in Utica. I've never been there either. I need to try these places out. You can't go wrong with any of those choices, I bet, except for apparently one of my crew members thinks Miller's. I'm going to fight to the death with that. I will die on this hill. You can read the rest of the finalists right now on our website. Click on Detroit.com. All right. I will argue about food for as long as it takes. All right, stay with us. I'm gonna get some more coffee in me, and we're gonna keep this going. All right, it's all something we have in our homes, and it's posing a hidden danger. We're gonna help you spot the warning signs in our next Go For It event. The details are next. All right. Well, what do we have here? We have so much more coming up throughout the next day here on Local 4. Tati from Live in the D, here to show us what's ahead. Tati, okay, now before we get over to her,
Talk to me.
Talk to you now. Listen, I've had pound coffee all morning. I'm filling in for Nick this morning. So
you've had an early one.
Yeah, and I'm not, not usually. This is my second cup, and it's still not kicking in. But you are ready to rock and roll, Tati.
We are ready to rock and roll on the D.
What you got on Live in the D, girl?
So it means that we are going to let you know what's happening with all the great events in and around Metro Detroit.
There's always good stuff happening, right?
Too much good stuff.
Love it. You got to go to all of them, Tati.
100%.
Go to all the events.
So my favorite one that I wait for every single year is Eastern Market After Dark. Have you been?
No.
Erica, if you have a chance to stop by for even 20 minutes,
okay,
you're gonna love it. The whole city is out. It's such a vibe. Think music, food, art, shopping.
All of it.
All of it. So it's a really great event. That is actually included in what's happening around the D, and I'm really excited because we're also gonna have Judge Greg Mathis. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Judge Mathis will be on the show today.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yep, he's coming back to Detroit. He's actually hosting an expungement clinic on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, every time I see those, they're just filled. They're like long lines, these people finally getting just their chance.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
It reminds me, I actually covered an expungement clinic years ago, and the relief that these people had on there, you can feel the joy like emanating off of them when they come out and like, I got this cleared up. I can't believe this.
It's just hanging over their shoulders for so long, and they finally get that chance. That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing that he's doing that, coming back to his hometown of Detroit,
I love
serving the community in that way? So we've got a packed show.
You
There's
do.
so much more coming on. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I can't wait to watch. Thanks, Tati.
Thank you, Erica.
And I'll see you in Eastern Market.
Yes. Text me, girl. It's fun. I'll be there.
All right, all right, all right. All right, we've got so much more coming up throughout the day here on Local 4. Tati, I'll see you on Live in the D. And then we've also got some interesting things happening for our Go For It event. We've got more news, weather, here on Local 4 Plus, and always at clickondetroit.com. Stay with us.